Joe Roberts here with House to Play, and I recently posted a video about the big July numbers the Lake of the Ozarks put up on the Airbnb market. And someone asked, I wonder how the Shootout's going to do this weekend. And I said, not only can we find that out, but we can also take a look at last year's numbers and see how the new location impacts the overall vacation rental market here at the Lake of the Ozarks. This video is before the 2025 Shootout, and so we're just covering the 2024 numbers in this video. A couple of disclaimers get out of the way. The economic impact of the location change is far greater than my video. I only picked the condos on the south side of the Grand Blaze Bridge because it was already pretty crowded up there. I didn't pick houses too far west of Hurricane Deck Bridge just because I needed to draw the line somewhere. And so you really can't get a grasp on how this overall impacted the Lake of the Ozarks economy unless you take a much broader look. But this is just for the racetrack. This data is provided by AirDNA, so if you think it's totally inaccurate, yell at them, not me. Generally, I find AirDNA data to be not 100% accurate, but reflective when you look at it through the right lens. You especially need to look at the Lake of the Ozarks through the right lenses for the following reasons. When you look at the lakes from a very high level, the data is really not all that impressive. This market score of 41 is not high. Any outside investor that just says showing the Lake of the Ozarks in AirDNA is not going to be impressed. One reason why is the area is just too big to take a simple average of the entire region. What you got going on in Camdenton is not the same thing you got going on in Rocky Mount, and the area is very seasonal. All the hosts handle the off-season very differently, from not at all to decently well. Now let's get to the good stuff. You can see I already have two filters made, one for the old racetrack, one for the new. So let's go ahead and start with new racetrack. And once you click apply, you can see how I've defined this area of condos around the Grand Blaze Bridge. There's a lot of them here. There are more condos even around that, but I decided to exclude them simply because there's almost 5 times more condos than there are houses on the old racetrack. So I didn't want the disparity to be even more than that. This data is now filtered for just these condos, and the first number we want to pull out is the number of active listings. And we want to find out how many were active in August of last year. And if you move down to this chart here, you can move your mouse around throughout the different months. And if you get to August of 2024, you can see that there were 498 listings active at that point in time last year. The next thing I want to do is go grab the month of August total revenue so I can see just how much the Shootout makes up of that. And there are various different revenue charts here. I got it by average of the month. The one I like to get, though, is this one because I can see the overall number and how it's divided up. And you can see there are $2.3 million that went in the month of August for these condos. That's a lot of money. Now, how do we pull all this together and figure out just what the Shootout made? And if anyone knows an easier way to do this in AirDNA, please let me know. But we're going to look at a metric called RevPAR because I can look back in the past and see what the RevPAR was on that particular day. And the RevPAR is a little bit more accurate than the average daily rate because it's the total number of listings divided by total revenue, so it accounts for listings that did not go booked as well. And we should be able to get a pretty accurate number. Now, just for a point of reference, let's look at the RevPAR for the weekend before the Shootout, which you can see is $209 on Friday, $212 on Saturday. The weekend of the Shootout is $229/$224, and Labor Day weekend is $240 and $271. So you can see that the Shootout for these condos wasn't even as high as Labor Day weekend. Very curious to see if that changes this year. So now let's put it all together. Let's take our average RevPAR for the weekend, 231.5, multiply it by the number of active listings, 498, for 2 days, and you come up with $230,574, or about 10% of the overall revenue for the month of August. All right, now let's check the old location last year. Okay, old Shootout location is now up, and you can see how I've defined this area of the lake. Again, you could probably make the argument that it should have been wider, longer, but I had to draw the line somewhere, and this is just what I chose. Pretty much just the racetrack, so let's go ahead and dig in and get the listings in August 2024. As we scroll down to this chart, if you look at the listings calendar, go back to August 2024, you can see that there were only 121 active listings last year. I thought there might have been more, but that's what the numbers say, so we'll go with that. Now, if we go and we figure out the gross revenue that these houses took in for the month of August, it was $930,000. Not too shabby, less than $2.3 million, but again, remember we have 1/5 of the listings. Now let's go ahead and grab the RevPAR for the Friday and Saturday of the Shootout at the old location so that we can see just how much they made during that weekend. You can see Friday comes in at 484 RevPAR, and Saturday comes in at 517 for an average of $500.50 RevPAR. Remember, the new location did 231.5 last year, so it's over twice as much. That is a big RevPAR number. So let's go ahead and do our calculations now. We take our $500.50 RevPAR per night, multiply it by our listings at 121, then multiply that by 2 nights, and you come out with 121,121, 121, 121 as the number of those 121 houses made during the shootout weekend. Not too shabby for just one weekend. Alright, so there you have it. And in summary, the condos at the new spot did 232.5 roughly a night last year. And the houses at the old location during the shootout, they had a front row seat to the race. They did a little over 500 a night during the shootout weekend. And what do I think is going to happen this year? I certainly think the old location is going to see prices go down. I certainly think the new location is going to see prices go up. However, I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see the change smaller than most people would expect, simply because the nature of the way the course change was announced wasn't exactly official. There was a lot of rumors involved, and so there may have been a lot of savvy guests that predicted that and got the condos before the owners had a chance to raise the price. Likewise, there may have been people who booked the shootout house they always do at the old location were like, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and drive up a little bit the main channel. It's really not that big of a deal. But we'll find out when the August data comes in. I'll be sure to make another video to show you how it went. Hope you enjoyed this. It was a little bit more work making the video than it was looking at the data, but you guys seem to like this content, so I'll keep doing it if you keep watching. If anyone wants to talk Airbnbs while you're at the shootout, I'll be there as well. So hit me up.